got big personalities from that. But yes, for me, I watch the person. Like, number one, be a good person, be positive. Like, if you talk a big game and you can't back it up and it's all BS, I'm going to figure it out eventually. Yeah. Right. And I'm going to steer away from those people. Like, how many times I get someone call me, they have some big idea, you need to invest in this or do that. And it's all smoke. Yeah. So it's very often. I mean, every week I probably have 10 calls like that.
For potentials.
Potentials. And, that's why, if I've been taking on partners, I haven't taken any partners with any of our real estate projects or anything. It's just me and her and everything. And we're always, we push ourselves back because I've heard all the horror stories. Yeah. And, people are always going to say what you think they want.
Yeah, they're selling you because they know what you can contribute. But it sounds to me that your formula with your wife is so solid. I wouldn't even really consider it unless that person was an engineer in some type of AI development where you can't do it. You know what I mean? And they have a next level. It just, I get offers all the time. How do you filter those offers? How do you just stay focused on your direction? Because with your following, with everything you're going, people are coming at you, I would assume, with ideas. Hey, Christoffer, let's start this. Let's get into this. How do you and your wife navigate through all that?
Most of the time it's saying no a lot. No. And the biggest thing here, if they're my true friends, like I have friends, like true friends of mine that come with, hey, let's invest in this. And 99%, like, not that I wouldn't want to do that with them, but I don't want the relationship to be ruined.
No, I see.
So money, like I always tell them, like, listen, you're too good a friend. If something happens and we're not friends because of a money issue, like, I value you more as a person in my life than a money. So I'll make my own money. And, at the end of the day, I rely on myself and my wife to make it happen. So that's kind of our perspective on it. And I always tell people, if I can help you or put you in the right position, but like I said, it'd have to be a very compelling argument for me to go in. I've heard the horror stories. I've had a lot of friends that invest with each other. They're always angry at each other, like, and then they're going out and spending money and they haven't given them their money back and they're pissed off about it. I don't have that because I don't do it. Right?
Smart.
I give perspective. I try to help out where I can. I'll do a lending part of the deal, but I try not to, like, we don't do any investments. I think there's one investment I recently partnered with because there's a big development that I've been working on for a couple of years now, and I've done a lot of the work, so I trust what's going on. But other than that, I don't have any partnerships on anything.
Very smart. I've been there and done that, and definitely ruined some friendships. And it doesn't happen right away, right? Someone gets a new girlfriend, a divorce. So there's so many variables to bring in on partners people don't realize. What about some of your other investments as we get closer to wrapping up this episode? What do you invest in real estate a lot as you own assets and so forth? Is that like would you tell an average viewer that's probably the most safest, or not financial advice, but most safest, best way to become a millionaire or have something tangible?
Yeah. I mean, what do you tell people to invest in this market? Stocks? Crypto, real estate is your best bet, right? Yeah. And really, even for me, one of the biggest, not that I really have a regret, but I wish I would have gotten real estate earlier, right? We're all fearful of it, the payment, the mortgage, things like that. But real estate, there's two people that make money in this world. It's going to be people that own property or own product. Own property, own product, right? And those are the people that become very wealthy and build, legacies with it, right? Yeah. So property is one of the easiest ways to get into it. You're not going to lose, historically, buy a house in San Diego, LA, any of those key markets, next 10 years, it's going to be worth a couple $100,000 more at the very least. Yep. It's not going to go down. So I still think that's the safest bet. Property is still going to be your safest bet. Obviously, that or putting your money into a business that you're going to be running and putting your efforts into. Obviously, you can 10x or 100x a business idea as well. So business idea or real estate is your best way to spend your money.
I agree. I think real estate for me has always been the most solid investment. It's definitely been one that kind of you feel comfortable with, right? I mean, you could buy that, like you mentioned, people buying a car, but the car market goes up and down, and it's not really an investment unless you got something very rare. But overall, it'll appreciate. You could have someone pay it off and really just keep growing it. You could borrow against it. It's almost like a mini bank. Let's talk about your future goals. I mean, where do you see Groves Capital going? What do you see where do you see your family in 5-10 years? I think you mentioned family as being one of the most important things, your wife. I truly respect that. I think when you brought up Tony Robbins being 5 times divorced, nothing against Tony, he's done great by a lot of people. Sorry, Tony, to bring you out here, but
still love you.
But listen, but in reality, come on, we both have families with multiple kids. I have 3, you have 2. To me, success is not just the house you're sitting in or the car you're driving. I think it's so important to have a great family dynamic where you feel love and affection and appreciation, and you're on the same page through the good and the bad. And there's a lot of bad that happens during the time of 10 years. I'm sure you've had that. But where do you see yourself? Where do you see yourself in the future with business, family, et cetera?
So, I mean, family right now, I mean, like my kids are young. So, obviously keep working on them to keep their mindset strong, get them into sports, building that foundation and making them understand what it takes to really be successful. And I'm going to do that by being a positive role model and practicing what I preach. So I think my kids are both going the right path. I mean, that's one thing. If you talk to anyone that doesn't have a kid to hang out with us, by the time they're done hanging out with us, the kids are like, I think I want to have kids. I think we can do that. I always laugh because I'm like, well, we train them to be like this. They can go to a night theater. They can come to, like, my kid's been on stage with me at speaking events, like on stage, like that's in front of people. Cool. Like, he'll walk up to people, like when I have him at like in a restaurant, I'm like, you ask the server for what you want. You tell him what you need. He'll be direct at 9 years old. Wow. So you have to teach them to be that way. So all you future parents out there, kids don't just come out of the box knowing what's up. You have to train, teach, and reinforce to make sure that they're respectful. So that's obviously a big goal. Keep that going forward. As far as Groves Capital goes, my focus right now is really taking commercial, the bull by the horns, the best way to put it. I want to revolutionize commercial to be more an efficient system of lending. It's been archaic. It's been slow. It's been black book and secret hidden, investors. And so for me, I'm working on bringing more investors, making it more, streamlined, make it efficient, make it safer. So that's been a big focus for me the last 2 years, and we're starting to make news headlines about what we're doing in the industry, which I'm super proud about. And then for me, I want to take over market share. So right now, as far as being a lending company, I want to be known for reputation above all. Yeah, like being the biggest doesn't mean the best to me, to be honest. Being the best reputation for the size matters more to me. Right. So as my lending company, I'd rather stay small and have a really amazing reputation than grow to a huge and have a crappy, like Loan Depot, Quicken, reputation. That's not important to me. So for me, I want to keep building as long as I can keep my reputation, that 5 stars, that 110% experience intact. And that's what I want to be known for. I want to build something great that people talk about and the experience.
That's awesome. I mean, the commercial lending part, I totally agree with. It's very archaic. It's almost paper driven. It's like you got to reach out to someone. It's not a streamlined process at all, even with the building that we have to get funding with all the avenues. If you could go back, Christoffer, to yourself, I mean, you're a 16-year-old entrepreneur starting some type of business and you're running, things at that point in time in life. What would you tell yourself? Like you could coach that kid. You know what I mean?
So, like I said, I'm going to go back to be careful who you hang out with. Number one, the biggest thing I think a lot of people just don't understand that concept. Like, look at your friends, look in that room when you hang out with people. Listen to how they talk. Are they positive? Are they like looking at things from a good way, right? Or are they just talking crap about everyone else and being negative and toxic? Or every time you call them, there's a problem. Like if you start hearing it over and over, like listen to it, get rid of that person. I'm sorry. Like, I don't care if you've known them for 20 years, wow. They're taking your positive energy away from you. So I think that's the most crucial is spend time with people that level you up, that want to be better and bigger, and you will become bigger and better because of it. So I think that's the number one is people just got to look at your spirit, look in the mirror and say, hey, these are the people I hang out with the most. How are they as people? And regardless of how long you know them, if it's not the right vibe, you got to say goodbye. And it's one of the hardest things you're going to do. But it's the one thing in life that I've seen, I've done, I've heard, it's never going to be a failing point. It's something you need to stress on.
It's crazy. My wife had a friend like that, very negative, and I'm like, hey, this negativity is leading to our relationship. You have to cut this off. And that's so important that people recognize that and deal with it. And I think I put up a quote one time. I said, you may know someone for 20 years. That doesn't mean they're better for you than someone you met yesterday. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's very true. I've met people that inspire me, and I've known people that probably just like you have, are jealous of something or want you to fail in some crazy energetic way. If Elaine was to come on this podcast, and I don't know if she's in the house, we're not going to have her on. Of course, she probably doesn't want to do this, but what would she say is the hardest thing about you and the sweetest thing about you? Like the most difficult thing to deal with you, the easiest thing. And you can be as honest as you want.
Okay, I'll be honest. Her biggest complaint with me is how much I work, right? I'll give you an example. We were trick-or-treating, yesterday or whatever it was, yesterday before. And I was on my phone recruiting when the kids were out there. I'm like, well, they're hanging with the friends. You're hanging with your friends. And she's looking at me. She's like, Chris, this is family time. And we only have 4 or 5 more years of this and it's done. And I'm on the phone recruiting. And I said, listen, I told him, I get it. I'm also right now, it's grind time for me. I'm like, you'll thank me at the end. My kids will understand that dad had to do what he has to do to make things happen. That I got the phone call. I finished with the rest of the night with my family. It's something I need to work on. Yes, it's hard for me to be present as a father all the time. That's something as a man, as a dad, that I work on. I'm not perfect, but I'm working on it. And I spend way more time than my dad ever spent with me, like taking him off for school and doing these little things. I try to make 95% of everything I can possibly. But at the end of the day, my job as a father is to provide for my children, provide for my wife, make sure they're protected, safe, and healthy. So that's number one to me before time, because at the end of the day, if I can't do those things, they're going to be impacted more negatively than me being there and doing none of those other things. Very well. And then as far as
something that she said you're very sweet for, or maybe something surprising we may not know.
I take care of everyone around me. Like I cook for my wife every night. I open the door for her. If she goes to the bathroom in the club, I walk her to her.
Wow.
My friends always her friends are always like, oh, your husband's a bodyguard. I'm like, I protect her. She's beautiful. Like she's on the club. I don't know where she's going. I like to know where she's at. Like I'm a protector. So I protect everyone around. Like if I go to a club with a bunch of friends, like if I hire security, it's to watch all the girls and protect them, make sure everyone's safe. So that for me, I'm a protector of everyone that's important to me. That's what I do.